Okay, so what is a source spread function? Here we have an object, a stop, a lens, and the image. This lens is not corrected, so it's got all the aberrations. So we have a point spread function at the image, at point Q. If we reverse erase from Q backwards, such as here, we get a point spread function as well at the object plane. That's what I call a source spread function. Okay, that's just a term I give it. So it's a point spread function in a reverse ray trace. Source spread function. So what? So what's the use of that? Okay, so several things. First of all, the significance of the source spread function is that if the object is a disk Lambertian source whose size is at least the size of the source spread function, then the irradiance, the flux per unit area at point Q here in the image, is given by a formula in radiometry that normally assumes that the lens is an ideal lens, which is an aplanatic lens, which is a lens that has no spherical aberration and no coma. But in this case here, this lens is not corrected. It's got all the aberrations. And yet, the irradiance at Q can be given by this formula as long as the object is sufficiently extended. How much extended? It's got to have a size, roughly the size of the source spread function. All right, so before we go to another application of the source spread function, let's talk about whether or not you must always do a reverse ray trace to determine the size of the source spread function, right? Actually, you don't really have to. Here we have the object again, the same object, and the same point N, which is the N right here, okay? If you can find the field position in which all the rays trace like this, and find the edge field ray that nicely passes through the rim of the stop and comes down and intersects Q right here, right? You follow this ray, and if that is satisfied, then you can find, then this size here is the same size as the size here. So you have determined the semi-diameter of the source spread function without doing even a reverse ray trace. You can just imagine in a lens design program like Zmax, you can put a variable on the field point, and then in the merit function, compute the location, the Y location of your field ray, this particular ray that strikes this Q here, right? Optimize until you find this height, and this height is the semi-diameter of your source spread function. Okay, so what is another application of the source spread function, the SSF? My favorite topic, relative illumination. It turns out that if your lens has not yet been optimized, then theoretically, to be really accurate, for the relative illumination plot to be really accurate, your object size should have a size or height that is slightly higher than what its height is. Okay, how much higher? Roughly the semi-diameter of the off-axis source spread function. Turns out that most lenses, even though they're not yet optimized, their point spread functions and SSFs are not that big. So this difference is not very big. So it's not a really big deal. But it's good to know, and it's very interesting, right? And with that, you can read more about the source spread functions in the original paper that I wrote about it in the European Journal of Physics, published in 2022. And I also read about it in a section of my book, Modern Classical Optical System Design. And with that, I hope this is interesting and useful for you. Thank you. Bye-bye.